What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Cool Colas here, and you are now tuning into a new video on my channel. But before we get on to the topic, I would love for you to do a few things. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the bell icon so you get notifications for whenever I come out with new content on this channel. And when you're finished, leave me a comment below. That way I can get back to whatever it is that you had to say for this video. For today's topic, I'm going to talk about the show Supacell. And I want to give you all some of my thoughts, quick reactions, and my feelings on this show. When it comes to the show Supacell, I loved it. I loved the first season. I thought the writing was incredible. I thought that the characters are very interesting. I liked how they made them very different. And although they had 5, which could seem like that would be too much, it didn't feel like too much. It didn't feel like they were all over the place. They did a good job of setting each character's backstory up. They showed the character's struggles, and then they also showed their different powers as well too. And they all were pretty unique, which I thought was really interesting and very cool. Now, I also like the idea that there were a lot of agendas, or at least they were showing a lot of agendas that are related to what the dominant society does, such as the fact that they like to keep tabs on us. So one thing I noticed is that in this show, they showed you how the dominant society noticed that there were a group of black people who had a mutation based off of the sickle cell disease being in their bloodline, and how that mutation resulted in them having superpowers. So they were trying to run tests and do all these other things, because whenever something happens with black folks, they love to be all up in their business. So that's why they tried to figure out how that happened, what happened, and all this other stuff. And what they ended up doing was showing something that really happens in society, which is you have these ops, these paid ops, who are a lot of times in the streets, and they are sent to help keep tabs on us. So a lot of times, you know how they always talk about the so-called black on black crime, which is a fucking myth. They don't talk about how in a lot of instances they have these dudes on the street who take out somebody. Like, for example, the Nipsey Hussle situation, I think, was a good example of this. You have these ops who a lot of times go and they pick somebody off who is constructive or is just another black person, where they can continue to perpetuate this myth that there's a black on black crime type of thing. And they have them go out and kill someone who is, or unalive somebody who is in that community, so that it can make it seem like there's a lot of just violence and murder and things like that that are actually going on in the black community. So they showed how this was a thing as well too, and how they get these paid ops to try to do their dirty work. So I like how they also showed that. And I thought that it was interesting to the point where I'm now interested to see what they're going to do for the second season. And I've been telling people this quite a bit when it comes to the show Supacell. This is what I would like to see more of when it comes to authentic black stories. This was the type of show that I would like to see more in the media that we watch, in the mainstream media. Because the reality is that a lot of the series that we watch have a lot of negative tropes when it comes to black people and the way that we are being portrayed. Now, I want to make it clear, y'all, although I'm saying that this show is great, that does not mean that this trumps the idea that there are so many shows that have bad writing and bad agendas when it comes to the way that they portray black people. So I want to be clear that just because you have one piece of good fruit doesn't mean that the rest of the pieces aren't rotten. That's all I'm simply saying. You need to make sure that you are not falling into this trap of, well, you know, there's a lot of bad shows, but here's some good ones too. No, the media that we see today is not effective and does not put black people in the light that they deserve to be in. And we still need to change it, and we still need to we still need to change that by divesting from it, and we still need to create our own stuff. So that does not change what I'm saying about that. Because a lot of y'all, I need to tell y'all this, because a lot of you niggas like act like damn fools, and you like to kind of run with the narrative of, oh, there's one good one, so it must have changed, it must be different now. Stop that shit. It's not. But this was a good show, and I need to make that very clear. There were a few tropes, but it wasn't anything too big. And some of it was repetitiveness. You know, one thing that I noticed is that they dived a lot into the whole gang and drug culture for a lot of these storylines. It kind of all felt like they all were deep into it. But, you know, I know that they had to tell a realistic story, so I'm not too mad. But I noticed that was one thing that was kind of going on here. Another thing, and this is not really a trope per se, but I noticed that this show was a little bit too short. I mean, they could have at least had 8 episodes, y'all. I mean, come on. So it shows me that although this was a good show, they like to do this thing with black shows where they don't want to give it so much shine as they would with a lot of shows that are not supposed to be about black people, but may have that kind of sprinkle of black people in it who usually have some trope attached to them and that type of thing. The other thing is, and I know it's part of the story and it was a part of the dramatic effect, I always talk about how I want to see more black couples on screen, right? But they had them kill Michael's queen. Like, I'm just like, come on, y'all could have kept Dion, or however you say her name. They could have kept her alive, you know, a little bit longer. I feel like, you know, that's another thing is like, we don't see a lot of black couples on screen that are happily together. And they couldn't even have harmony in their relationship and get married because, you know, Michael was so busy trying to make sure that she didn't die. And he was trying to spare her life so that she, you know, lived longer than what was projected, because she was supposed to die in 3 months. And what ended up happening was she obviously died much sooner. So, yeah, that was another thing. And then the other thing I will say, too, is I do wish that I would see more of this when it comes to foundational Black American stories. I would love to see more authenticity with that. I would love to see more foundational Black American characters who are in harmonious relationships, more Black males who are foundational Black Americans portrayed properly, more Black women who are portrayed properly as well too. You know, I would love to see more of that type of representation. So this was what I would call a good start to changing the mainstream media a little bit. But at the same time, I need to remind you that we need to continue to make our own content. But we should use shows like Supacell as a template, as an example of how we need to write better stories, or of the type of stories that we need to support when Black people finally do put their stories and the things that they've created into more, I guess, televised media and that type of thing. Now, anybody who is watching this video, I really want you to understand that we need to see more of this. If you have not already seen the show Supacell, I highly recommend that you go and watch it when you get the opportunity, because I guarantee you won't be disappointed, because at the end of the day, I didn't want to stop watching it. I had to binge it. So definitely check it out. And again, if you're a creator, definitely make sure that you got a notepad so you're taking notes, so you can make sure that you're conscious of the way that you're telling stories when you write. Other than that, y'all, I hope you enjoyed what I had to say. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll have a lot more to come, so be sure to stay tuned. Other than that, I hope you have a good rest of y'all's day, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.